Is monogamy natural for human beings or not? What do you think?
Yes, I do think that monogamy is natural for human beings and has a basis in evolutionary biology. You only see fathering in species where there's monogamy. So I think because of that, humans have evolved to want sexually exclusive relationships. So, in the language of evolutionary biology, monogamy would be considered an adaptation for biparental care.
Dr. Josephs, are men just not monogamous or monogamous? What do you think?
When we talk about men versus women, you're talking about looking at group averages, the average man versus the average woman, as though all men are alike and all women are alike. So I do think a lot of the debates about gender differences in sexuality are, in a way, counterproductive because the average man or woman doesn't exist. There's subtypes. So the reality is there's many subtypes of men. So men who are low in narcissism, securely attached, high in guilt, high in empathy, are prone to be more monogamously oriented than women who are high in narcissism, high in avoidant attachment, low in empathy, and low in guilt. So when you average out all the different subtypes of men and women, yeah, men end up a little bit more promiscuous or unfaithful than women.
Is there, even though we live in a more egalitarian society, is there still a double standard when it comes to women caught in affairs?
I think some of the double standard comes out of a narcissistic sense of entitlement that men seem to have more than women. So the thinking is something like, I'm entitled to cheat because I have a high sex drive. I'm entitled to cheat because my wife is a shrew and I'm unhappily married. But she's not entitled to cheat because she doesn't have the male sex drive, and I'm giving her everything she wants. So if she cheated, I would just drop her like a hot potato, but she should put up with my infidelity. From some of the research I've read, it does seem to be that people with higher sex drives tend to be more promiscuous or unfaithful than people with lower sex drives. And that men, on average, seem to have higher sex drives than women. But I think you do see that when you look at the statistics, in more egalitarian countries, the women are catching up. So I think in the most sexually conservative, patriarchal countries, where there's a very high double standard for women cheating, like they would get stoned or something, it suppresses the rate of female infidelity. I think what you see is that in more egalitarian Western cultures, the women haven't caught up or surpassed men in the prevalence rates of infidelity, but they're catching up. So I think the sort of statistics that I've read is that maybe men are cheating in marriage somewhere between 25 and 40%, and maybe women somewhere between 50 and 30%. The statistics aren't that precise. And when you put it all together, it probably implies that in probably around 50% of the marriages, one or the other is cheating.
If non-monogamous feelings are part of a marriage because of the testosterone pole versus the society pole, should we change our views about the model of marriage and infidelity?
There are many couples where an infidelity has been discovered, and then at that point, it's sort of understood that maybe this is a symptom of some underlying problems in the marriage, and that the couple can recover from the infidelity, address the underlying problem in the marriage, and have a better marriage. So I don't think that just because there's a high frequency of occasional infidelities in a marriage, that the whole idea of monogamy or working at a successful monogamous relationship, you throw out the door. I think what's understood is that monogamous relationships are work, they're difficult, and that and sexual exclusivity is something that you could work at. And some couples learn to successfully deal with the issue of sexual exclusivity. Maybe some couples don't.
There are groups who say if you want to take the in out of infidelity, just have open, honest marriages and accept it, and then everything will be fine. What do you think of that?
Even in open relationships, there's still rules. So even in a lot of open relationship, the idea is sometimes, well, you can have casual sex outside of our primary pair bond, but you cannot have an intimate attachment outside of the primary pair bond. And of course, there's infidelity in open relationships where somebody goes ahead and has an intimate attachment outside of the primary pair bond that goes beyond casual sex and lies about it, and there's still betrayal. There's also what's called polyamorous relationships, where people try to have multiple romantic attachments simultaneously and try to be okay with that. Even in polyamorous relationships, you could feel, well, do you love that person more than me? Or is that person more of a soulmate? So if you try to say, okay, we can have, we all want multiple soulmates in life, so let's be all cool and open about it. Does that mean that you're not going to be jealous or competitive that somebody you really love? What if they have more emotional intimacy with this other person than you?